Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and anyone who wanted it because they heard there were free drinks. Welcome, welcome all. My name is Dan and I live opposite Mart.
Hello, my name's Rich, and the other day me and Dan were pondering that being asked to be a best man is a lot like being asked to do jury duty. In both cases, you can't say no, although nobody really wants to do it. It's a lot of responsibility. In both cases, you've got to put on your best suits and pretend you're an upstanding member of society. In fact, the only difference I can see is that today we didn't get a say in the life sentence that was passed here today. And by the way, you guys, you better appreciate that, because that might be the only proper joke in the entire stage. Actually, there's one more joke right at the very end. Something for us all to look forward to.
Now, before we commence the royal roasting of Martin and Lawrence Lovick, we wanted to say, Christine, forgive me if I pronounce this incorrectly, Maria. May I say you both absolutely lovely today. You very clearly have done so much to raise two amazing people. You must be so proud, and today we get to celebrate the start of the rest of their lives together. I'd especially like to praise Maria for instilling such high level of patience into Anna. Because, well, you know.
And Anna, you look absolutely beautiful today. And Martin is one lucky boy. And your entire bridal party events look absolutely wonderful too. You all absolutely deserve a big giant wolf whistle. But sadly, I'm not very good at them. But I know where it is. There it is.
What to say about Martin? He is charming, intelligent, witty, handsome, never complains. Sorry, Mart, I can't quite read your writing here. What is it you would say? The reason what to say about Martin is such a valid question is because we've known Martin for 4 decades and we still don't understand him. Martin is a mystery, both complex and weird. He is a curious enigma of a man.
But having said that, me and Dan have studied Martin for over 40 years, and today we'd like to present our findings. And so, to better understand the big man, we're going to talk you through, Dan, do us a this, please. So this is the 7 ages of Martin. It's like Shakespeare's 7 ages of man, only with more poop jokes. And so we've got youthful Martin, we've got party Martin, we'll then enter the living the dream era. We've got Indiana Martin, mosh pit Martin, wise old Martin, and then the dawn of a brand new age, which we'll come back to a bit later. So let's start by spotlighting a younger and more positive Martin.
I met Mart a long time ago in a street far away. We both moved to Gerard Avenue roughly the same time, at a young and innocent age of 6. We played with cars and Lego in the street. We became friends. When we were young, we would ride bikes together, play board games, and share our love of computer games. And from that day on, a lifetime of weird and wonderful adventures and stories began. We became best friends. We went to Compton Scouts together, and I went to Bishop Stortford, the very same hut where I had my 8th birthday.
And it was at this birthday party that I got to meet Martin for the very first time. Now, because Dan has millionaire parents, remember that phrase because you're going to hear it again later. Dan's parents got him the birthday double whammy. They got him one, they hired him the Storford Scout hut, yes please, and 2, Fat Barry the DJ, absolute legend. So towards the end of the party, Fat Barry gathered all the children for a dance-off. And the prize for the best dancer was a Nintendo Game & Watch. It was a rubbish, like early handheld games console, absolute tap, but man, I wanted it more than anything in the world. And so, desperate to win, I went wild on the dance floor. I busted out every move I'd ever seen on top of the pops. They all came out. And one by one, Fat Barry tapped out all the kids until there was only 2 of us left. Me and a mysterious young man called Martin. And so me and Mart took it in turns to impress the crowd with our moves. I went first and I was body popping, I was busting out my best robot, I was moonwalking, spinning on the floor. I was sweating, I was working so hard. That Game & Watch was as good as mine. And then it was Martin's turn. And he made almost 0 effort. This is exactly what Martin did. He turned his back on the crowd, peeked over his shoulder, and then shook his big old butt. That was it. And guess what? The crowd loved it. And Martin won the dance-off, and he took home that coveted Game & Watch. And do you know what I got for coming second place? A Mars bar. Not a whole Mars bar, a fun-sized Mars bar. I was devastated. Whoever this mysterious character was, this mysterious Martin guy was, I did not care for him. Not a bit.
Not one iota.
No, not one iota. But as quickly as Martin danced into my life, he moonwalked straight back out. And I didn't see him again for years, not until we started big school, but I tell you, I never forgot him. Minimum effort, maximum impact. That is Martin's mantra for life.
As we got older, we got into music, partying, hanging out in the evenings and weekends. We discovered booze. A clear memory of drinking when we were late teens was a birthday party held at the Lubbock residence. The usual suspects were there: the guys, beer, and a bottle of Jack Daniels whiskey. The afternoon was going really well. Sun was out. Plenty of friends had turned up. Whiskey was opened and then very soon consumed by one man, Mart. We were all super impressed by Martin's feat. He looked super cool in front of all of his mates. The afternoon was going really well. A small amount of time passed by. Martin came in from the garden. Firstly, falling into the TV by the patio doors. He then took a short walk, stagger, over to Rich and I, who were chatting in the dining room by the doors of the porch. He stood to the side of us looking pleased, but at the same time, slightly distant, swaying a little. Then all of a sudden he fell forwards, stiff as a board, full speed towards the doors of the hallway, head first. Bang! He was fine. The door. His body was lying in the dining room, shoulders up to the door. His head was perfectly through. Opposite side looked like someone had mounted Mart's head like a prize trophy. From this point forward, we could tell that Martin knew how to party. And this was the birth of the next age of Martin. Party Martin. Moving on, just a couple of years, Martin had fully embraced being the party. But we were still young and still slightly awkward when it came to women. Sure, we knew about flirting, we knew about dancing, mixing all together to impress women, not so much. One particular occasion found us at Matt's parents' house. We had reached the point of the night where we were running at peak performance after consuming about 3 cans of Foster's. We were dancing with Matt's sister's friends when Michael Jackson came on. This was it. Time for Martin to put it after the bag. He bust out all of his Michael-esque moves to try to impress a young lady, but sadly ended up treading all over her toes. And thus ended his attempt to woo through the medium of dance. Or was it? Martin clearly thought, no. I'm Party Marty, I've still got this. So along came his best chatterbox. Hi, I'm Martin. I live opposite down. So which she replied, who's that? Wow. Thankfully, over the years, Martin really has perfected the art of dance and has very clearly perfected how to talk to and impress the ladies, as we are all here today celebrating his marriage to the lovely Anna.
So I remember Martin coming to stay with me during the Marty era when I lived in Cardiff. We were on our way out to a nightclub and we stopped by a corner shop to get some supplies. So Martin treated himself, get this, to his favourite drink in the entire world. A litre of Mad Dog 2020. Look at his little face. Just seeing that has got Mark salivating.
It's the wrong flavour.
But yeah, so but before the rest of us had even finished paying at the till, Martin had gone outside and necked the entire bottle, surrounded by a group of cheering Cardiff strangers. He is such a show-off. But it was also during this Party Marty era that the Salford lads would enjoy our annual holidays around the Mediterranean. And we were exactly the kind of British tourists that the rest of Europe hates. Martin was a party monster on those holidays. He would often find himself either in a swimming pool with all his clothes on, or locked on a balcony with all his clothes off. He was also a complete idiot at the time, and on one searingly hot day, we went to a Greek water park, and Martin refused to wear any sunscreen at all, because, and I quote, "It's gay." Unbelievable. So when the bus finally collected us from the water park, Martin looked like raw beef. It was the worst sunburn I had ever seen. And by the time that we were dropped back at the hotel, Martin's entire back had ballooned up into one giant blister. And so later that night, and this sounds mad, it's absolutely true, later that night we went bungee jumping. And when it was Mart's turn, the bungee cord whipped him back with such force that his back blister burst like a water balloon and it rained down over the watching crowd. When Mart got off, it looked like he'd just stepped out of the shower. It was absolutely disgusting.
It was during his Party Marty phase that Mart earned his most enduring nicknames. Boys give royal nicknames to each other. That's just fact. For example, Rich was known as Sheepy, Pint Size, the Gimp.
True. And Dan was known as the Muff Daddy, Mr. Bean, and Rumple Foreskin. But nobody had more nicknames growing up than Martin. And so we're going to have some fun now, guys. we're going to play Martin's Nickname Bingo. So this, by the way, is a bit of a reference to to Martin's legendary stag weekend. If you were on Martin's stag, can you give us a big cheer?
Hey!
Mark, you were there. Anyway, none of you guys sounded that lively at the end of the stag do, that's for sure. Especially you, Uncle Phil. Naughty boy. So Dan is handing around an envelope. Hit turns to read out nicknames, cross them off as we go. You want to go?
Right then. Eyes down. First one now. Baron von Slickback.
The Love Pigeon.
Yes,
Spielberg.
These are all Martin's genuine nicknames. Machine Mart.
Speckled Jim.
Fishy Cute Boy. Punch. Punch Dread.
Threadless Scampi.
Barnacle Bill.
Just a reminder, these are actual. Martin.
yes.
Martine McCutcheon.
Fatso Rose.
The Sea Hack.
This one. Party, party!
Whoa! What have you got, lads? What else we having here? Some chicken wings. It was around this time that Party Marty entered the weirdest period of his life. The living the dream era. Now, what we're about to reveal to you all is absolutely true. Absolutely true. How and why all started is still an absolute mystery. I think something must have happened on our first holiday away together. Quite possibly from drinking the shot with 7 white spirits in it multiple times. The bar was hot, so we had shirts off. I think because Martin dances harder and faster than all of us, he felt like he needed extra layers off. I recall Daft Punk was being played. Martin was away, cutting shapes. Then suddenly, Holmes was shot. Punk asking Martin what the hell he was doing. He simply muttered, "Living the dream." Since then, it's almost like he had been hypnotized. Whenever someone said, "Live the dream," that would be it. Within minutes, he'd be as naked as the day he was born. A great example of this was on a boys' holiday at the Greek Islands. After a particularly boozy night out, the guys were meandering their way back to the beachside hotel. Someone, almost certainly, Matt Dale gives away, shouted, "Live the dream!" And within seconds, Martin's clothes lay crumpled on the street. Mart walked the rest of the way home, startled by it. What made this especially memorable was that Mart heard loud croaking and peered into a nearby bush and pulled out the biggest frog he had ever seen. About the size of a small football. Mart nestled the giant frog under his arm, just by his pillowy bosom. And the two friends continued their journey to the hotel. The locals and tourists loved it. Many taking selfies with Mart and the massive bullfrog.
So you might assume it would be completely inappropriate to take off all your clothes at a funeral. And you'd be right. and yet, so I remember my dad's funeral. It was in the arse end of the Welsh Valleys. It was the funeral was followed by a raucous wake in the local country pubs. And from the pub, it was about a mile walk down a pitch-black country road back to my mum's house. And on the way, somebody, and I can only assume it was blooming that hill again, or Baz, or David Barry, they're both naughty boys. On the way home, somebody shouted, "Live the dream!" And Martin probably took off all his clothes. The amazing thing was, Mart just left each article of clothing right there on the floor where he took it off. So the suit jacket, gone. The tie, the shirt, the trousers, all just left by the edge of the road. And Mart walked the rest of the way home to my mum's, wearing nothing more than a wry smile and his shiny black work shoes. But I mean this, Mart, I will always be grateful for that. That was a dark time in my life. And you had me laughing so hard I thought it was going to burst. It was a tonic, and I absolutely owe you for that, mate. It really not. But yeah, when this strange live the dream period came to an end, Martin needed to find a new outlet for his energies, an activity that he could do with his clothes still on. And that was music. And so me and Dan have since joined Mart at dozens of music festivals across the country since. I've had the pleasure of attending a good 5-6 Glastonburys with Martin. I've also been to the Glastonbury with Anna, good times. And Glastonbury, it really is the best place in the world, but it is bloody hard work. And by day 3 of the festival, Martin is always exhausted and he tries to conserve as much energy as he possibly can, like the hibernating bear that he is. And I've seen Mart get all the way to the main stage, the pyramid stage, lay down on the floor, get himself comfy, and then not move a muscle for an entire day. I've seen that. And as a consequence, Martin has missed some of the greatest artists on the planet. So genuinely, here is how Martin watched Mary J. Blige. Here's Martin watching Pharrell Williams. Here's Martin watching, the vaccines, Paloma Faith, Burt Bacharach. Here's the one that will always live with me was Motorhead as well. So I remember that one because the crap, Mart was lying on the floor, but he was utterly surrounded by a giant crowd. It was quite dangerous. And so I looked down at Mart and I said, Mart, quick, get up. You love Motorhead. Lemmy is literally your hero. To which Martin just got himself a bit comfier and said, "No, I can hear him fine from down here." Lazy gets. Unbelievable. Another time at Glastonbury, we were watching Noel Gallagher, and Martin was actually stood up this time, which is a big compliment to Noel. And I was coming back from the bar, I had a tray full of beers, and as I returned, Martin was looking unusually pleased with himself. As I got there, Martin buzzed, Rich, I've just met Bez out the Happy Mondays. I just met Bez out the Happy Mondays. I got a selfie with him, I just chatted to him for ages, it was brilliant. And I said, cool, where is he now? Where's Bez? And Martin said, he's just out there, he's leaning on the fence back there. And I turned around, it wasn't Bez out the Happy Mondays. It was It was the famous comedian and household name John Bishop. And so I went over and said, to apologise to John, I went over there and said, sorry John about that. And he said, oh, don't worry about it, pet. I'm not good at, that's my general purpose northern accent. I don't know how he's done it. Don't worry about it, pet. You made me so excited, I couldn't bring myself to tell him I wasn't better. Very sweet, actually. It was very sweet.
A common sight during his festival adventures was a scrubby, flea-bitten, tartan headscarf. This scarf is a thing of legend. But in fact, it appears to have gained a form of magical power. No matter what happened to it, it would always find its way back to Mart. During one of the many bee festivals we attended, Mart's headscarf had somehow been offered to the crowd. For about 10 minutes, you could see his headscarf being thrown back and forth across a crowd of thousands. Poor old Mart was absolutely gutted. He'd spent time earning this scarf as part of the Duke Redwood Award. During a bout of Lubbock-esque drumming, out of absolutely nowhere, something came flying full speed square into Mart's face. That something was Martin's scarf. Somehow magically, this scarf had made it all the way around the main stage crowd and landed right back where it came from. So, just for a bit of fun, was to recreate said offering to the crowd. I just want to see if it actually still gets back to the owner. So I'm just going to, as if we're at the EV festival again, just going to throw it off to the ground. Oh, there it goes, still going. Still going. And make sure that's square in his face. Another example, when we were attended a rock festival, a large circle pit formed in front of us during the performance, which to my utter surprise, Mart decided to jump into. Mart lasted all of about 10 seconds before he tripped over, and ended up taking everyone else with him. He eventually staggered back, but something wasn't right. His headscarf was gone. During yet another bout of Lubbock-esque drumming, the band finished and the tent cleared out. All that was left was himself, Grumpy Martin, and a strange-looking mound of dirt nearby that looked like it had a two-red score. And again, it was his scarf. How? Music festivals had lit a courageous fire in Martin's belly, and he was keen to explore this world to find new adventure.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Right, so myself and Tony, the Tonemeister, old Boo-Shoo himself. Tone, can you give her a wave? There he is. Me and Tone were honoured to join Martin travelling Southeast Asia, and we spent almost 5 weeks sharing a room together, which isn't easy because at all times, at least one of us had a bad belly. I still get flashbacks to that. But interesting, check this out, I've got my travel diary. So I kept this up the entire trip. I have my travel diary here, and reading this recently reminded me that Martin really is a magnet for misfortune. Anything that could have gone wrong on that trip did. So here's some examples, okay? So when we arrived at Heathrow for our flight out, we were promptly evacuated because of a terror threat. When we finally got on the plane, 3 hours late, turbulence hit and an air hostess spilled an entire bottle of wine over Martin. Then when we arrived in Bangkok, we got caught up in a military coup because the Thai army was in the midst of overthrowing the Thai Prime Minister. That was all within the first 24 hours. Anyway, so I've earmarked, in this diary here, I've earmarked the 3 funniest Martin misadventures. Does anyone want me to read them out? Yeah, I'm on it. Mart, you happy with this? Okay, here we go. A little short one for this first one. So we went scuba diving again today. When me and Tony arrived at the seabed, we looked up and we saw an entire shoal of cleaner wrasse, mistaking Martin for a passing whale. Hundreds of little fish swarmed the big fella. Martin, who was clearly panicked, was thrashing around like a bucking bronco as the wrasse nipped at his skin in an effort to clean it. I swear I saw Martin stick his fingers up at the fish at one point, but I don't think they understood the gesture. Poor old Mart. Poor old Mart. Alright, here we go. This is a good one. Number two, Mart. This is good. It was worth noting actually for most of the trip, and I mean, pardon my French, but we really did stay in absolute shitholes. But we did occasionally treat ourselves to a little luxury, and one such time was on Koh Samui, where we rented a huge wooden beach hut. It was way too nice for us, but anyway, here we go. So tonight we caught the boat to the infamous full moon party, and while we were getting ready, Martin drank a half-litre bottle of whiskey. Myself and Tony waited for the big man on the sun lounges outside the hut. Martin, who was half cut and half dressed, burst onto the balcony and belted out a ground-shaking rendition of Always by Bon Jovi. I think you know every word to that song. Despite Mart's volume, I could hear the honeymooners next door tutting loudly. When the boat arrived at the full moon party, Martin was so drunk he fell off the front of the boat head first into the sand. Thankfully he got up, dusted himself down, and he managed 15 full minutes of partying before collapsing and passing out. Me and Tony, with the help of many other revellers, dragged Mart's limp body across the beach to the medical bay, where the nurses laid Martin on a beach mat and said they'd keep an eye on him for a couple of hours. It was like, get this is incredible. It was like we were checking a coat into a nightclub cloakroom. The nurses stapled a ticket to Martin's t-shirt, and they gave me and Tony the other half of the ticket, and they said that we could collect him when we were ready to go home. Oh, this is a sad final line. Me and Tony headed back to the party for the greatest night ever. Alright, here we go. We'll make the last one a good one. Yes, Mart, here we go. You ready, Mart, for this one? It's the big one. Today was a terrible day. Right, Mart, before I say anything else, do you want to guess what this entry is about?
I couldn't possibly speculate. You know full well. It was the Cambodian boat trip.
Okay, right, so today was a terrible day. Tony had promised us the most beautiful and scenic boat trip in all of Cambodia, but what we got was a living nightmare. The cranky old boat had a capacity for 30 people, but they'd sold 60 tickets. That meant that me and Tony had to spend the entire trip on the roof of the boat, clinging on amongst the luggage. The weather oscillated between blistering sunshine and howling monsoon rain. It was awful. But I shouldn't complain because Martin, who was sat inside the boat, had it worse. True. 10 minutes into the 6-hour journey, a sickly child vomited all over the boat's interior. Nobody cleaned it up, and so Mart was trapped inside as the sick lapped back and forth against his shoulders. We didn't see We didn't see the nature that Tony promised. Everything was grey and barren. The only interesting parts of the journey were the little fishing villages we occasionally passed. But then we spotted several residents openly pooing into the water. Dirty, dirty little floaters. Dirty floaters bounced off the hull of the boat. It stank. 6 grueling hours later, 6 grueling hours later, we arrived at Kompong Chen. When Martin disembarked, he was apoplectic with rage. We tried talking to him, but he swore at us and stormed off away from the dock. But as Martin turned round, we spotted a huge, bright yellow spider clinging to the back of his hat. It looked seriously dangerous. I called after Martin to warn him, but he spun round, stuck his finger on me, and carried on marching away. And then, well, this is now the final line. I worried that would be the last we ever saw of him. But thankfully it wasn't. And thankfully, it's all water under the bridge. You've entirely forgiven old Mark is going to take that to his grave. Martin came back a new man, a wiser man. Here we go.
Well into his 30s, Mart really started leaning into himself. He stopped trying to be cool and embraced being Martin. Weird, eccentric Martin. This is an era that is defined by real ale, folk music, Warhammer figures, unkempt beards. During days out together, Martin would always either be out super early to get a haircut, buy some disposable clothing, or something just as random as a horse's head mask, steampunk goggles, the Wikipedia in your pocket, a small device that can only read Wikipedia, and as soon as you took it away from the internet, it'll be out. The Buddha box, a tacky little Buddha statue which plays featureless soundscapes to meditate, and the weirdest of all, LP record that doesn't have any music on it. Each track is a sound of someone typing to on a different vintage computer. It's fantastic. I've seen a few of these purchases pop up on Facebook Marketplace recently. You're not a fan of the matter?
It was during this era that Martin also started writing in a weirdly formal way. Has anybody, am I going mad? Has anyone else noticed this? So here it is, right? Martin basically writes birthday cards in the same way that you or I would write, for example, a complaint to a local MP. This is, and I'm transcribing this word for word, what Martin wrote to me and Charlotte when our boy Kian was born. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Roberts, I am writing to personally congratulate you on the birth of your first son. Yours cordially, Master M. Mum, I love this. It's totally charming. Don't change, mate. But and because formal letter writing like that is a dying art, I always picture Martin doing his Christmas cards hunched over a writing bureau, armed with a quill and a wax seal.
It's in this period that Mart's catchphrases emerged. Now, I don't have any friends who have catchphrases unless you are hosting a game show. It's weird having catchphrases. Well, Mart has dozens of catchphrases. So let's celebrate with a round of Martin's catchphrase bingo. More prizes to be won. Now, this time, Martin, come on down! Come on down! You're going to be our bingo caller. And Mart, you've each of these catchphrases so many times, I'd like you to read them out in the same manner and volume you usually would. Come on. Eyes down. Mart! Go back to school. Egg fry, green tie. Remember, these are Martin's phrases. Get your rat out. Extractive line of redundant. Pay to win. There's Brasso running down my leg. Well done, have a pickle egg. Rage. Millionaire parents. Almost. I'm Martin. I live opposite Dad. Shame it! Feed the birds, turbulence obey. Oh, that chicken. Look at me, .com. Micro. Before the mast.
Somebody's got to be close.
Disposable clothes. Man and boy. I'm the crypto hipster.
Please, somebody win before we get towards the bottom of this list.
Oh, what a prize we have for you tonight.
Well done, Martin. Well done, Martin.
Well done. If you'd like to share what you've got.
Oh, I love those. Oh, brilliant.
The age of Atlas Martin, this era starts today, and I am confident it's going to be the longest and happiest age of Martin. Anna, you are amazing. I think you're smart, you're creative, you're thoughtful. I love your dry sense of humour. You absolutely deserve a good husband. And so let's thank God that Martin married you before you found one. There's that second joke I promised earlier. Remember that? I promised you a second joke. There you go. We've told lots of very embarrassing stories about Martin today, but every story was told from a place of love.
I think we can all agree that Martin and Anna absolutely deserve it. They really do demonstrate that good things come to those that wait. Anna, don't forget, when it comes to Martin, patience is a virtue. And Mart, don't forget to learn these key words. Yes, dear, and you're absolutely right. Anna, thank you for choosing Martin. He truly is one of a kind. One of my absolute best mates. And deserves a lifetime of happiness. I know he'll do everything to make sure you are happy, loved, and cared for. Since you've both met, we really have seen the next stage of Martin evolve. And I can see this will be his best age. You have both started one hell of a lifetime adventure together. And I feel it. The words that Rich is about to share, I also 100% echo.
Thanks, mate. So Anna, I meant every word I said about you earlier. I think you are brilliant, genuinely. But I also think you're lucky because Martin is one of the most unique and brilliant and generous and big-hearted people I have ever met. Mark, I can still remember the day that you called me up and you told me you had cancer, and I felt like my entire world was crumbling around me. I cannot imagine life without you. And Anna, I will be forever grateful to you for how well you looked after Mike during that dark period. Mike is here today because of you, and I will always be grateful for that. Mark, you have been there for me through some of the toughest times, and you've been there for me to make the best times even better. And genuinely, it's an honour to call you my friend, mate. I love you. And in fact, on that note, should we run out there for a quick cuddle? Yeah, we'll run for a cuddle, Mark. All that is left to do is to toast the brand spanking new Mr. and Mrs. Lowe. So everybody, can you be stood up this time around, please? Please hold your glasses aloft. And let's tell Martin and Anna what we really think about them. Please repeat after us. You're awesome!
You're awesome!